Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Morton. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the artist and studio manager here at Baltimore Clayworks. We are thrilled that you all have joined us. I would like to acknowledge that I'm joining from my office located on Piscataway and Susquehannock land, currently known as Baltimore, Maryland. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our virtual artist talk tonight given by Kensuke Yamada. Kensuke Yamada was born in Japan and came to the US to attend Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington, where he received his BA. He continued in ceramics education at the University of Montana, receiving his MFA in 2009. Since then, he has been a resident artist at the Archie Bray Foundation, Montana, the Clay Studio, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and guest artist and adjunct instructor at the Tyler School of Art, Temple University in Philadelphia, a visiting artist ceramic studio technician, instructor at the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas, also visiting assistant professor at Centre College in Danville, Kentucky, and he is currently an instructor at the University of Arkansas, Little Rock. Yamada is a sculptor who creates layered narratives within his figurative works. I will now turn it over to Kensuke.
My name is Kensuke Yamada. Everyone, thanks for joining us today. And those of you who joined the workshop today, it was fun. Thanks for coming. And those of you who show up to the exhibit last night, it was fantastic. And thanks for stopping by. I know some of you drove all the way or fly in, and it's great to meet you in person. I'd like to talk a little bit about my work and where I came from and stuff like that. Well, it's been a while doing a Zoom, so it's so weird. Okay, so I grew up in Japan, a place called Kamakura, which is close to Tokyo. And then when I said close to Tokyo, and everybody said Japan's so small, so anyways, close to Tokyo, or like, and then I said that's like a coast side or close to ocean, and everybody said Japan's small. It looks like it's surrounded by ocean anyway, but we say it's close to ocean. Kamakura used to have a capital there, and I grew up in very traditional town with a lot of temples and shrines, and my neighborhood has a lot of figurative works and very historic area. This is something that I didn't include in my slide for a very long time because we talked about this today too, but when I was in a younger age, I came to States, so I kind of denying where I came from a lot. So it really like pretend like I have no influence with Japan or any culture. So recently I'm getting older to admit that I have a roots to Japan. So I start putting some of an image from Japan and try to find a more connection to what I do and where I grew up more. Which is kind of interesting because I'm away from Japan for 21 or 2 years. And I lived in Japan till I was 21 or so. So almost I have a little bit longer life here than being in Japan. So it's kind of interesting because I couldn't accept that or admit it that way I came from really long time. And now I start thinking about my roots and influence to my work. So to me, it's kind of a lot for me to put such a Japanese image to my slideshow. And so I studied speech pathology in Japan, and of course, I didn't study art, but I came to United States and went to school called Evergreen State College, Olympia, Washington. And back then I was making pieces like this. And those images that came from like a slide. Back then when you apply graduate school, I actually had a slide. So this year, I think it was this year, I had a chance to make sort of like a book catalog of my work. John Natsula's gallery in Davis, California helped me to make my book. So I have to dig through all the images from way back to to kind of put those book together. So some of our image here is way back when it was a slide. So I scanned a slide and put them in here. So those are like a work that I don't even remember. I used to make things like this, but and I'm glad to find an image like that. So I put a couple images from way back when I was undergraduate like this. So back then when I was at the Evergreen, I made a piece like this. And those are, and partially I try to practice controlling clay, how to build objects and stuff like that. So I measure size of a kiln. It was like a 24 inches wide and 28, 30 inches height, something like that. Regular Scott electric kiln. So I measured the size of a kiln. I made a piece that fits to the kiln, right? Uh, so my challenge is to make something large like that. And also I start closing top of my piece like this because I'm so weird. I'm talking to this computer, this computer. It's good, very can't focus. Okay. So I closed form like this to thinking about I lost here. Okay, so closed form like this. So I'm thinking about how containment. I was thinking about containment. So, and to me, as undergraduate students, it was pretty big piece because it was like 24 inches and 30 inches tall, or something like that. So I was so fascinated with the material clay, how fragile it is, plus how strong what's inside are. So I was making pieces like this in undergrad or something like this. So I talked about this at the workshop today too, but I was looking at the work of Yoshiro Ikeda a lot. He was a professor from Kansas State University. It's such a beautiful work, and also that my idea of sort of like a containment, such an energy that in such a closed form was very fascinating to me. So it was a great practice to build the surface, also great practice for me to understand how form play with the surface. And this is one of those pieces that I forgot I actually made these pieces, but this was like a big raku piece I made when I was an undergrad. And this is probably the first piece I sold. And I still remember I sold it to a dental teacher, faculty teaches dental program. And I sold it for 30 bucks, I think. So it's like a very first. I don't know. You guys have a memory of very first piece you sold? Like, yeah, like first piece. I took my girlfriend to a Thai restaurant for 30 bucks, and total was like 20 some bucks, and plus tip, it was over 30 bucks. So can I borrow some money for so I still remember, really first piece I sold. It just, selling work is interesting because I mean, of course, in a young age, you feel like you're a rock star, and yeah, I sold a piece, but at the same time, I try to think that mm, they are kind of supporting you by, buying your work, or, it kind of humbles me more when it's still like these days, if I sell my work, because I can't afford my work, but they support me by buying my work. So my job is to keep practicing and keep getting better and keep pushing my career. And some point that people way back, they have my piece from my undergraduate. Hopefully, I'm still doing it, and that makes them happy by seeing I'm still active and doing it, right? Like, so selling piece is really interesting because we need to be humble about it, and how they support you, how they believe in you is such an amazing thing. And I can't pay them back, but only I can do to show my thankful feeling is that I have to keep making work and get better and keep pushing it, right? So that's something that my responsibility to not just quit and disappear. It just always humbles me and pushes me to get back to student, make more work, right? So that's kind of like undergraduate work I was making, and towards to finishing undergraduate to graduate school, I switched to figurative work. The reason is that when I was undergrad, I start showing my work in local artworks, or any opportunity comes up, I try to show my work, because that's a great lesson, because you get to see how people see your work is always different from what you expected. So when I expected by making work like this, and I was talking about energy inside and feeling and emotion and container, but that doesn't go well when you display your work in public and nobody will stop and look at it. And I was just carefully observing how people react to my work, and there's always balance of what you thought about your work and what people think about your work. So I switched to figurative work because I wanted people to stop and look at my work. So I was like, how can I make people stop and look at my work? How can I make certain engagement with the people? So that's the kind of beginning of that. I switched to figurative work. And but turns out it kind of makes sense, because figurative work, or human itself, we are the container of emotions and soul. So it kind of made sense with the original theme I had about containment and container. So during the graduate school, towards the undergrad to graduate school, I was making these figures, and most of the influence that I had is from South American figure, or you see some of the old Japanese Haniwa figure, to Chinese Han Dynasty figure, to Nigerian figure. I always impressed with all these abstracted form, and you can kind of see finger attached to it, and that always impresses me. So those are some of the work I always, go back and research. And of course, this is like a folk art in United States, like American folk arts, and there's a lot of figurative work in history. And this is a Japanese folk arts, and as you see that how these folk arts, with those figurative work in the history, it tells their costume or the customs, or what female was doing and what male was doing and what soldier was doing, what people were doing. You can see people through figurative work in the history. So I like that aspect of it. And also cartoon we watches, it teach you like moral lessons and certain thing, or GI Joe or Barbie doll. When we play with the figure as a child, sometime one of them are you and your friends, or these two can be imaginary character, or some these figurative work creates a story of its own. So that's something that I thought the figurative work is interesting, because everyone makes certain connection with a figurative work, right? So in graduate school, I was at the University of Montana in Missoula. See, this is like one of the images, I found on slide, kind of like old images, right? Like dig through all the computers and here's the image. So I rarely take a pictures. So if you're undergraduate students or something, you should keep taking pictures. You got plenty image to so I made a book, but I really had a hard time putting the images together, because I really didn't have it. So this is like a good old graduate school time. If you went to graduate school, right? Like you don't want to go back there again, but it was a great time. But you see, this is like what, 4:30, 4:30 a.m., right? Like it's not p.m. So that was like my life. For 4:30 a.m., I'm making peace, right? And this is some of graduate school work. I made something really big. So that's my studio space. So that piece is probably like 8 feet tall or something like that. And some of the finished really tall work. Yeah. By undergraduate school at the critique, and I remember I made these big feasts. I probably mix about 2,000 pounds of clay every week, and made these pieces and took it to critique, and they said, Kent, this is the ugliest thing you ever made. It's like, okay, I thought so too. It was really ugly. But what I learned from making such a large piece that's beyond your eye level is that landscape became part of your work. That's so interesting because if you make something that sits on a table, or if you make something sits on floor, or if you make something really large that you have to look up, it gave me a different perspective because something giant like that in Montana, if you see blue beautiful sky and tree, and that became part of my work. So that's something that I learned about changing scale. Really changes, not just the piece itself, what's around it is a part of your work. Uh so it was very interesting. It was very painful, but it was interesting work to do. So, and also in a graduate school, I get to visit, this is like a very old image again. So I get to do some glass work with this guy with an eye patch. And glass is very similar to ceramics in a way, but it's very different because it's translucent. So it was a great study that I always wanted to do glass, and glass studios are expensive. So you need to be in a place, an opportunity to get to do a glass. So it was fantastic opportunity for me to do that. And later in my career, I get to work with another glass artist called Stephen Powell, and we teach together at the Center College in Kentucky. And he said, Ken, let's do collaboration. I was like, yeah. If you know Stephen Powell, he's like a really famous glass artist. And of course, I'm not going to say, Steve, let's do collaboration. I'm not going to say that, right? Like, so Steve's told me to do. So this is like a me pretending, looks like I know what am I doing. But always when you do collaboration, I always want to participate as much as I can. So I supposed to protecting his arm from a heat, but I don't think I'm doing a good job. But see, me acts like I know what am I doing. Yeah, but obviously not. Yeah. Next image. We go next image. See, this is we did it in the summertime, so we got all safety gears and everything ready, you know, wear sandals, and so this is probably not you're supposed to do, but we just did it this way. I really love, collaborating like this, and Steve is like a go-getter, like go, let's do another one, let's do another one. That energy with him was just so fun, and I enjoyed that time with him. And with a safety gear and everything. It's great. So he has his pattern he used on his work, and this is a finished work we did. And unfortunately, Steve passed away a few years ago, so my interest to the glass kind of fade out a little bit. But it's just like Steve was another mentor that I always looked up to, and it's just that after he passed away, I kind of lost the passion to it. I was gonna make more mold and take it to his studio and make more stuff, but who am I gonna impress after he left? So I kind of lost passion, and it's great to have great mentorship with when you're younger, or it's good to have a great mentors around because and I always had a mentor who's a maker, so I know what it takes to be studio artist or what it takes to be a maker. You gotta physically go there and make stuff all the time. So I had a great people around like that. So And this is a time when I was at the place called Archibray Foundation in Montana. And I talked about this today a little bit at the workshop. Archibray was one of these places that I met so much great talent people. It kind of blows my mind. It just I move a lot and I meet a lot of different people, and just world gets bigger and bigger, and you actually learn how small you are too. So definitely another humble moment that I get to have a space there in a place like that with very talented people. um I think that every studio artist like us, we meet each other in this kind of occasion and cross paths here and there in the studio to kind of share energy. It feels like we had a conversation that way instead of we actually sat down and have a conversation. It's kind of weird feeling of collaborating or sharing space as an artist, because we have a weird tie together in the end. So I always treasure these moments of sharing, work or sharing space like this, because when we work together and we work well together, it just that moment is nothing we can explain and nothing we can change it. So I'm at the Baltimore Clay Works, but you guys have a residence program, and those people share a studio with can be lifetime friends, lifetime competitor in a good way. It just the good energy you have in the share space is something else. So this is some piece that I made at the Achibre. This is supposed to be a Japanese kindergarten kid style, because back then when I was a young, we walked to school with wearing like a yellow hat so you don't get hit by a car, right? Like, people can see from a car, right? So we had a yellow hats, and then I had a backpack like this, and we go to school. If I think back, people I met in kindergarten, and how we separate and we move to different life, and later in life we meet again. I think that's so interesting, just like we are, because I came from Japan, came to States, and I moved around the States, and I know there will be a time I have to say goodbye, but later in the life I meet again in different studio space or different exhibits, stuff like that. And that moments of a goodbye and hey, I'll see you in the future is kind of really interesting to me. So I'd like some like share feelings, share emotion like that. That would be kind of thing that I included in my work, so that I don't have to be, I mean, you don't have to be Japanese to feel that way. You don't have to fly all the way from Japan to feel that way. Like moving to Baltimore from next states, or school started, so going to a new class and meet new classmate. That small moments can be, lifetime moments of best friends, or you might have to say bye later and might see you in the future, or there's a lot happens between people, I think. So some of the series I did is called diving series, something like that. So this is again idea of uh moving or diving. So I moved a lot, but again, I was thinking about our common feeling, common thing between everybody. I Not just the Japanese in specific. Moments of a diving is exciting, and also it's very nervous feeling too. That feeling, the mixed feeling you have in excitement and nervous feeling, I kind of wanted to play that in my work, so I created a diving series. So just like when I came from Japan to United States, I was in the airplane. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? But at the same time, I was like, I'm so excited. I'm gonna go United States and go find something new. And that mixed feeling is so interesting. But it doesn't have to be extreme like that. Just like I said, getting into residency program is exciting, but at the same time, very nervous, right? So again, I try to find some kind of universal feeling stage that I can share with everybody. So this is a diving series, and so some of the installation. This is from a Cheekwood in Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee. So I did a full exhibition about diving. So, I was debating I should call it swimmer or diver, but swimmer is already in the water, right? So I needed to be more likely moments of a diving instead of you are in the water. So diver is kind of made sense to me. So I did a bunch of diving series like that. Some are picking nose. And I use a lot of birds because this is Yoshi's favorite rubber ducky. And but duck migrates, so I like the bird travel all the way from south to north and all. So I use a lot of bird because I move a lot. This is my Hellraiser piece. Nobody liked it because it's scary, I guess. But it has all like a galvanized nail, I just put the all nails all over. And I thought I made it cute because I painted a tip of a nail to white. You kind of see that. You can't see that on there, but you see the white tips. So I thought it's not scary like a Hellraiser, but I guess it was too scary. But, I kind of always likes to play, like bittersweet, cute and weird and like, because it's kind of interesting, how your feeling kind of reflects on what you see. So I want that I want that to happen when viewers see my work. So I always wanted to play that some emotional state, mixed emotional stage on my work. So um, it's been last year, 2 years ago. It's been a while. Four, three. So some college in Arkansas, this is their new museum, but they couldn't open because of a COVID hit. So second year of a COVID, they decided that they're gonna open campus again, so students is coming back. So they wanted to open museum, so they asked me if I can make something by the window, where the yellow circle is. So I wanted to make, because the students are, it's been there like homeschooled, right? Like they're home, every class is online. So I wanted to welcome those students, cheer them up, and what school actually do is builds community, right? So um I I thought about Smarties. What do you call Smarties in Canada?
There's Smarties in Canada.
Okay.
Rockets.
Rockets in
Oh, yeah.
Canada. Right, opposite. No, yeah. Rockets, yeah. Smarties, because Smarties has different color wrapped in the one packet. So I like that. We all different individual is wrapped in one packet. That's sort of like what the school is, different people from different places get together at the school as a community, right? So I kind of wanted to make that. So I made a piece like these. In different color. So all different color of figures will, standing by the window like that. So when students walk by, they see different color, and And when they walk all the way to the end, it looks like Smarties, right? So it goes like that. So hopefully it worked out. But my idea was that how they can go back to school as a community. Um, so other thing I did during the COVID time, or right after COVID time, was something related to death. And I usually write or listen to music or stuff like that to pick my titles or idea for the exhibit. So this show was at North Carolina, and I picked a word from this hat. Says, "As you are, I was; as I am, you will be." That was the idea of exhibit because during the COVID, I lost a couple friends, and not because of a COVID. It's just a time that everybody had a hard time, but at the same time that I lost my mentor and a couple friends, and it just wasn't a very good time. And somewhat, my fear of a death kicked in, and I just got really struggled from thinking about death for a little bit. And only way that I can digest is make work to digest it. So title of that came from just me researching death, like the hard time, and how do I make them into exhibit. So next couple slides kind of shows my struggle of me trying to digest or accept the death. But so this is like a main piece that I came with. Again, the title of exhibit was "As You Are, I Was; As I Am, You Will Be." So kind of represents a death. That's like my bottom line stage, and this guy's again skulls on the hands, and but traveling with an empty bag. It just I felt very empty during the time that passing through my friend's death and stuff like it. Just I felt empty all the time that time. And I made some Mickey Mouse piece, but I half of them are me and half of them are Mickey Mouse, because no matter it's sad or hard time, Mickey Mouse needs to smile. But inside of a Mickey Mouse is me that's having a hard time, right? That's just like how a lot of people get through difficult time, because you still have to go work and schools and everything, and you smile, acts like nothing happened, but your inside is like asking yourself like, who am I, like what is all this about, right? So again, I'm making work to go through or try to digest the feeling I had. So to do this show, I probably, let's see, how many pieces in here? One, two, I probably made, twice more much work to make sense what am I going through. But then, feeling got a little better. So I tried to make something like flower growing and like try to make it positive way. And this is some piece was in the show, but it was again, I usually write or pick phrase from music or something to make work. So this was some philosophers talking about what the happy life can be, and they're talking about if you have a music and cat, your life is all set kind of thing, or just life can be much simple kind of idea, I guess. So try to process my feeling through exhibit. I don't know how many maker will do that, but I have to digest by making work until it makes sense. So sometimes to put one exhibition together, I have to make twice or triple amount of a work till it makes sense to myself. So it's kind of like you randomly spit it out, everything you have, and see what makes sense or not, like re-evaluating yourself in the work. So it's an interesting process, but it's really difficult because you kind of has to be open to it and be naked and just spit it everything out, and dirty thing to every feeling, you show your weakness and everything in a making process to put everything together till it makes sense. So it's just a really painful process for me to go through. But yeah. Another exhibit I did, this is after coronavirus, and we all kind of focused on negative side of what the COVID did, but I also see a lot of people's kindness and a lot of community effort to help each other, kind of good side of a such a hard time. So I originally wanted to make work based on Little Prince, and Little Prince has a many different way to understand the whole story, but I took it as like something that I would say by reading the story again, I was interpreting as during the COVID gave me a lesson that something so precious and great, something we forgot to see it every day, but something that I get to see it during the COVID, like a people's kindness and how community try to help each other. Something great happened during the COVID too. So I wanted to focus on that. So this is not cheap from a Little Prince. And but then Russia and Ukraine war started. It was just even just the coronavirus, but before that, American politics and stuff. It just I was so sick of all this thing what people do. So I supposed to make an exhibit as a happy thing based on Little Prince, but I start making all these brat kid. So they're supposed to be Little Prince, but has a crown on it and has like a brat attitude, because I felt that when war started, because again, people are so embarrassing that it's not about politics, but people in general. I was just so embarrassed. Um, if I'm a deer or some other animal, maybe they think that they wish human to be gone from this earth, or also be a better place. I was just embarrassed as a human. So I made a lot of brat kid with a crown on the head. Let's say another brat kid has like a hammer on the hands, so destroy everything. And so it just gave me another hard time. We went through COVID, and now let's build the community again. And here comes the war. Like, man, human, come on, like what's going on, right? It just gave me really hard time again. So, but then at the same time that I learned this, that this is like I know this is a little weird piece, but I was thinking about this. So this figure is sharing one body, right? So how, so some of you are sharing community studio space, like when you share space with somebody, there will be an inconvenience, there will be something that you need to step back, and so but caring about others, sharing space, sharing the body together, if you accept that inconvenience, then you can create a great place. That share effort that we have is such a great thing, especially if you're sharing community studio. So I want that people to go back and think about that, like, accept the inconvenience by sharing the body, but then you can have a great life if you learn how to share things, like we can share, with the animals and everything, like this earth as our body that we're sharing with others. Then why take that inconvenience and share the space together, right? And right now that I'm this exhibit for origin exhibit, I have a piece series of For You to Love Me. That's another I don't know if that makes sense as an English, but I call it for You to Love Me. So that's another new series that I'm working on right now, that if you want somebody to like you, then why don't you put some effort to make them like you? Like, don't just steal things, like don't just step on their territory. Like, if you want them to like you, then you do that way, so they'll like you in a way, right? Like, that's something that I want to deliver, message wise, deliver through my work in the future. But all the experience, this is like those of you, I took a video yesterday, if you didn't make it to exhibit last night, I took this video last night so you can see it. A lot of people made it to exhibit, and that was so nice to see those people in the show in person. Every one of them, I searched your websites and look at the other works and all, and try to understand what your work is about, and many times. So I kind of know everybody in this show at the same time. It was so great to see everybody in person. Part of an exhibition like this, I always like look at the people's work and fantasize what the artist looks like, or what do they do every day, what do they eat, like I like seeing you through artwork, but you know I rarely go to exhibition, but this time I get to actually meet the person made the work. So it was so fun. And the reason that I ask everybody about origin, because of all the experience that I was just talking to you guys about through the slides. This is maybe the time that we need to think about where we came from and where you came from, where others came from, how we respect that background, so that's how we can share space and all, right? Because everybody has history, everybody has different background and origin. And can you just listen to those people? Can you try to understand where they came from? Then what can we do to make the person happy? What can we do to share the space together? So I hope this exhibition kind of hopefully make everybody to think about where you come from, at the same time where they come from, and other hopefully this was an opportunity for people to think about others, including yourself, right? Okay, that's it.